When I'm in the middle of doing this, I decide for no good reason, right, to go from this position to this position. Absolutely. That's what I thought too. This is so much cooler. Do you know what I mean? I have no idea if it makes any fucking difference at all. I'm fairly certain it reduces the level of penetration which I can end up for to do. But fuck it, I feel like a god.
A weightlifter's gonna have even more fucking problems. That's dangerous. That's like. Who would do this for a living? All it involves is pain.
Hello, happy Christmas to you all, great to be here. Yeah, happy Christmas, which it is, I guess, for a lot of people that are happy, but the thing about Christmas is that if you're not happy, it does nothing but highlight the fact that you're very unhappy around that time of the year, which obviously isn't great, and I'm quite sad right now, and I'm not feeling great about being up here trying to make other people laugh. Well, I'm a stand-up comedian in Dublin. I moved up from Kerry about a year ago, after doing it for a year and a half before that, to follow the dream, and it was great following it, but it wasn't so great catching up with it,
I suppose I became a comedian because I was studying English in college. A friend of mine was already on the comedy scene. He'd written a lot of scripts for kind of RTE and some kind of developmental stuff, and he asked me for a hand in proofreading what he'd written. But when I went through kind of proofreading the scripts, I started kind of adding in my own jokes or changing the wording on jokes. So he asked me then to come in on a full time with him, and once I got into a full time to be taken seriously as a writer, we both agreed that I should probably go on the stand-up circuit and kind of get a bit of experience, because then it's easier for kind of production companies to view your scripts and stuff like that. So it was by accident, really.
Oh no. No, I'm a stand-up. Doesn't work. Oh god, this seems like a person I don't want to talk to. Good. So
it's three different things for me as a performer, and it isn't this way with every comedian, but I'm an MC to begin with. I MC all my own shows in the Harbour Bar, and that was to give me experience of dealing with hecklers, which is one of my favourite things. I love interacting with people.
Where did everyone go on you? She farted! A fucking 8-foot square space. Fucking bitch.
When I MC, I'm a bully. I like to bully people. I like to bully everybody equally, so that they don't feel, one person doesn't feel intimidated, but everybody's on the same kind of a journey, if you like, with me. And then I always kind of go back to myself and put myself down so they feel at ease. But that's just as an MC. Then on top of that, you've got like my normal stand-up, and my normal stand-up will be completely different to that. I'm very, very friendly, very energetic. I don't really do material that's risque. I don't talk about certain things. I like it to be accessible to everybody.
Firstly, I'm going to get anal sex off a throwback from the 80s. Dom, I love you. And secondly, I know what you're all thinking. Penfold has got a job since Danger Mouse retired.
Well, I'm 36. I became a comedian at 35, and it was because I spent 10 or 11 years working in a good job, fucking just living the normal fucking life and thinking I was happy, and split up with a bird, lost my job, and then I was in a position where I was like, nothing really changed, you know what I mean? Life was still shit. You're still getting up and going to just a different job but less money, and still to pay all the bills. You look for a different avenue to just have a laugh and give yourself something to fucking look forward to the weekend for. So comedy was how I let loose that way.
Can I just ask, are you guys on a date?
No.
Are you related?
No.
Do you want it to become a date?
No.
Are you sure? Because there's lots of really comfy, if the date did go well, if it became a date, because otherwise it's just a pseudo date. There you go.
No.
Man after my own heart. Rejection. Had the farms of the ugly children were born and became a huge thing. And as they grew up, they reached sexual maturity, and then they could be milked so that no one had to endure the hideousness of heterosexual relationships for the propagation of the species. And just the science of artificial fertilization was perfected in these pivotal years.
You're from Ireland, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I'm from Ireland. And then, just as I turn around, I suddenly feel a little jolt on my back. And he's trying to push me down an escalator. Slightly. But I steady myself, he just yells, he's like, your dad's unemployed and your mother drinks whiskey every morning. And I was like, how does he know my family so well?
End quote. We meet him again a little later after a moment of painful intimacy. Quote, Proudhearted touched his most secret place where her paw encountered nothing but silky fur. Their genitals were always masked by their fur, and for the males, their penises were hidden in a sheath. You'd never know they were anatomically correct, but they were.
As someone who does stuff that's a little bit different, in Ireland, especially in Dublin, that makes you much harder to book as an act, because promoters in the comedy scene are extremely conservative. And I also was very frustrated because I go to comedy gigs all the time as a stand-up, and I have to sit and watch stand-up comedy, and 90% of it is pretty bad. And I think the reason for that right now is because most of the comedy that you see on TV is pretty bad. Most of the stand-up, it's pretty safe, it's pretty generic, and people are aping that. And so I started this night as a place where people could come and do something completely different, and to ensure that there wouldn't be that kind of safe stuff, I made sure that there's no stand-up at all, there's no sketch comedy, there's no musical comedy, so people can come and do comedy, anything that isn't that. And I try to find people who aren't just comedians as well, so like writers and storytellers and people who are performers in different capacities, because I think comedians often have especially if they've been doing it for a while, a big difficulty in seeing the potential of something like this, where they can use video, they can use slides, they can do audience participation, they can do whatever they want. Whereas in a stand-up club, you just have a stage, everyone's drunk, you have to keep things quite slow and simple, and this is kind of a chance for something a bit more adventurous.
1, 2, 3, Arena!
3 girls wearing leotards. Yeah. We do sketches. Really,
and we try and be as high energy as possible just to get the audience on our side. So
yeah. One thing we've heard is that from another sketch group we know, Glen Coco, they said to us, the one thing about Jews is when you're on stage, it's really obvious that you haven't a clue what's going on around you and you don't give a fuck. You're just just up there going crazy. Yeah. So I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, here's the point here. You go. Okay.
Hey, let's have really hot sex in an oven set to a reasonable temperature while we're baking a cake of sexy, because I'm going to sit on your face till you suffocate, and then I'm going to be licking at your cat, and I'll be fingering your dad's asshole, and chop off your balls, and then I stab you.
I think there's an awful lot of talent in the country, you know what I mean? And I've gigged all around the country as well, but the truth is Dublin is the kind of mecca if you're a comedian. You can get a gig every night in Dublin if you're a comedian.
The amount of Irish comedians coming through, and you have from the typically Irish, there's Culture Nora, who in her own right is very funny, a send-up of Irish people from West Wicklow.
For my own wedding I was only invited to the afters. Fuck me. I don't have any friends. Look at me. I don't have any friends, right? I had an imaginary friend once. He didn't fucking like me.
We're a funny nation, but I feel we've got a long way to go. I feel that there's not enough variety in Irish stand-up as it is. I mean, with English stand-up you have your one-liners and you have your controversial comedians, but I think when Irish people go out, they kind of want to see the same thing, which is normal observational humour and nothing else really. But yeah, I think we're a funny nation though. I think we're known as a funny nation.
Ever since then, I just feel the spark's gone. It's developed in a way that it's like a bad sequel to a movie that was shit in the first place. And now I look at you, and where once my pants got tight, I just feel with regret. You've broken me, Sandra.
Some of the guys that people have never ever heard of that are working the kind of circuit are absolutely fantastic, and that's kind of the point of the Hardy Heart, is to bring not the recognisable names that you might see appearing on the panel or something like that a lot of comedy clubs around the country are presenting, but to bring the guys that you'd miss if you weren't really in the know as to what's going on in Irish comedy. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing when you get into it. You learn that there's so much talent out there and it's not being exploited the best it could be.
Now this is no ordinary song we're going to play for you. This is the Orgasm Son. Alright, get strapped in. Yeah, it's going to be epic. Yeah. Alright, here we go. The Orgasm Song. Oh yeah, whoa, that's great. Yeah, oh. Even better, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, oh, faster, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's it. That's all we get sometimes. Yeah, that's all there is. So that was the male version of the song. Now I'm going to play for you the female version of the song. Right? The female version is a little different.
It hurts more.
It hurts more. Jesus Christ, who are you going out with? It's meant to hurt. It's meant to hurt. Woo, woo, woo. Who are they? What'd you call them? What are you doing here? I'm good in bed. Ah, bollocks. Right, there we go. This is what the female version of the Orgasm Song is meant to sound like, I think. Here we go. Right, sing this. And all of a sudden,
so many comedy clubs opening up. I think 5 have opened up in the past 2 months.
Yeah.
And anyone can just write a set and go into Badly Axe on Tuesday and Pinkney Bridge Inn and just and do
the Underground Comedy Club. That's what it's closed down for a while now, but that's where we started. Loads of new people started off there, and it was just a really good place.
Yeah, you could literally go in and be like, "Can I do a set?" And they'd be like, "Hey, you're on next week." Of course, you're going to see how wonderful you are, just like I did.
Well, if you're sure.
Of course. They're going to love you straight away. Just like I do.
Thanks.
Anyway, you're going to be so happy that I finally found a nice man. Alright.
Right now, there are excellent stand-up comedians in Dublin, but there is a serious shortage of anyone doing anything challenging or risky or strange, you know? And I don't see any signs really of a scene that's going to confront that. Like I said, there's good stand-ups, you know, but it's all pretty generic stuff.
Every comedian's going to be different. Lots of people sit down and they make sure they sit down for at least an hour a day and they write out loads of jokes and then they cross off the ones they hate and they keep the ones they like and all that. I hate that. I don't have the discipline for that. What I do is, hopefully, I'd be a good observer, and I observe a lot of what's going on with me in my kind of day-to-day, and then I record the things that I find amusing, and then I completely embellish them to make them into a funny story. So everything you hear me saying in my straight stand-up set on stage, they're all based on true stories. I've just embellished them so that they get the kind of belly laughs at the end.
censorship in comedy clubs came up. There was an issue where a comedian in this very club, in the Halfpenny Club, was pulled off stage. Can you explain? Can you put that in context for us?
Well,
and like, what does it mean to yourself as a performer? First off,
well, the big problem with what happened in that specific situation was that they went online and complained about it there instead of complaining about it in person.
I've never been pulled off a stage myself, but the problem with it is when it goes wrong for people, they tend to direct their anger or frustration in the wrong direction.
I'd like to say that I'm trying really, really hard to try different things. You know, some of the stuff I'm doing on stage right now mightn't be the most innovative, but I keep trying new things, anything I can think of, within the confines of my limited ability to do stuff that's interesting.
Well, in that particular situation, this certain individual rolled the condom over a cane and asked an audience member to suck it off.
Okay.
I think that's just plain offensive, you know?
You have to, yeah, it's free of censorship in a lot of ways, but like people, you know, the people that run the bar here, they can't kind of be scaring away customers, you know, and same with the promoters, you know, they can't have guys on that are going to basically put the whole night in jeopardy, you know, because there's plenty of clubs around the place that's kind of content is do whatever you want and, you know, be as dark or whatever. But you have to be aware that if you're going to do one of those acts, that you're going to encounter difficulties doing it, you know.
There's a problem with stand-up, which is that in the way it's organised, if you learn a routine, you set a 7-minute routine, 15-minute, 45-minute, depending, but most people are doing 7 minutes, open spots. You go along, and a promoter wants to see you do the same thing all the time because he doesn't want to be surprised. So people get the routine down, and then you go and you deliver, and it's a very static, kind of dead thing, you know. And breaking out of that is very difficult because what do? You know, if you make up something new on the spot, it mightn't work. And so it can be kind of tiring and tiresome to do the same thing. But then if you do different stuff, you get a reputation, which I've been told I have as an inconsistent comedian, you know. So yeah, like, I mean, I love doing stand-up, but I wouldn't make any claims about my own stand-up. It's pretty generic because in the context of a stand-up club, like say with drunk patrons, with very conservative promoters, it's difficult to do anything that isn't generic. Do you know what I mean?
You know, if there's people leaving your gigs like every time and you're not changing it, you know, like someone has to say something, or something has to be done eventually along the line, you know. If you're clearing rooms, just something has to be done eventually, or else for the good of comedy as a whole, you know. And you can go on about censorship, but if, you know, I mean, you can have places with no censorship and no customers either, you know, because at the end of the day it's a business, you know, and people have to kind of, there's reputations at stake and stuff like that. You see, I think the issue with that whole Facebook thing was he just directed his anger and frustration in the wrong way. The thing to do is, if you have a bad night, you go home and you write better jokes and you practice more, or you know, you just get funnier, and then people can't take it away from you when you come back, you know. So it's about just about self-improvement and just kind of trying to, you know, not try and direct your frustration at the wrong people, basically, you know. The guy was just doing his job, the MC, to pull him off, because he was asked by someone higher up, you know. But again, like, I didn't see the act myself, but I just think, just as a general rule, if things don't go well, go home, kind of reassess, and you know, just get better, get funnier, and then people can't take it away from you then, you know.
I don't know, I'm getting a bit old and angry, you might have missed that, and I'm doing stupid things. I caught my face in the fridge recently. You know, how slow do your reflexes have to be catching your face in a fridge? And it wasn't even a spring-loaded fridge, it was just a normal fridge. There was no recession-proof thing going on, it was just a fucking regular fridge. I was putting the milk back after cornflakes and I left my face there. I caught my nose in the fridge. My nose, it was fucking bright red. Like, I was like Rudolph for about 2 days, you know what I mean? I was just stupid, this blistering thing on my face, and I was just stupid.
But where do you see yourself in 5 years as a performer?
In 5 years, I hope that I've reached the stage in my career that I never have to answer the question, what are you going to do in 5 years again?
Just enjoying it. I really don't care. Again, it goes back to that whole aspirations thing. The first thing that's going to hold you back is, you know, delusions.
I like the night, but it feels like I'm, you know, the train's going down the tracks and there's nothing at the end but darkness. So
all I say is I'm enjoying the shit out of it, and standing up on the stage doing a bit of stand-up comedy regardless what I'm doing in 5 years' time, I'll still be doing that. Alright, this kid finds a welder's mask at the side of the road. He wears it all the time. Everywhere he goes, he wears this welder's mask on him. He's cycling home from school one day on his big wheel. He's only about 6 or 7. A car pulls up beside him. The window rolls down. This old man in the car says to him, "Come here, kid, do you know anything about masturbation?" The kid says no. He says, "Do you know anything about ejaculation?" The kid says no. He says, "Do you know anything about oral copulation?" The kid says, "Oh, for fuck's sake, mister, I found the mask, I'm not a real welder."
This guy sits down, guy's in a restaurant. He says to the waiter, "Hey waiter, taste the soup." The waiter goes, "What's wrong with it? Is it too salty, too peppery?" He goes, "No, just taste the soup." "No, what's wrong with it? Is it too hot, too cold?" "No, just taste the goddamn soup." "Jesus, okay, I'll taste the soup." "Where's the spoon?" See,
Truth is, and ask any comedian, don't ever do a joke if somebody asks you to tell a joke, because their expectations will be really high and the joke you tell will never live up to their expectations. The best thing to do is come watch me on stage and then you'll see the jokes I do.